Hey, good evening. Good Friday to you guys. How the heck is everybody? It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. Wonderful, wonderful. Glad you're all here. Hey, Rob, thanks for being here. Thank you very much for being here. I am your handsome host, Bill Sylvie. Welcome to the show. This is a thing we do. We do it almost every night of every week. Well, I take the weekends off because a man's got to rest, you know? I'm like David Letterman, but less gropey. Hello, Mobius. So we're going to be talking first and foremost. We're going to talk RPG stuff like you do, or like we do. We're going to talk RPG stuff for a while, and then tonight after the regular program, we're going to play a little Gamma World. We're going to play a lot of Gamma World. Although I'm going to have to dip over and grab my Gamma World rulebook. My group is actually no. I don't think I'll have to. No, I don't think I will. But anyway, so how are you guys this evening? I've just kind of rambled and stumbled, just weaving around, weaving in and out. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing well. I got Facebook up so I can see any comments from anybody that wants to join us on Facebook. Hello, Chris. I see you over there. And of course, StreamYard will at the very least stream comments from YouTube, so I can see those there. So everything is both hunky and dory. So anyway, no rules Gamma World. Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that. I think I'll be dipping into Drive Through RPG and downloading a copy of that PDF over here to this machine locally. Esmar, Mobius, Chris. Yes. I have all those fun people. But as we are starting Gamma World tonight, I thought it'd be fun to talk about the post-apocalypse and role-playing games. Almost as old as role-playing games is the role-playing game about the post-apocalypse. The first science fiction role-playing game ever was effectively a post-apocalypse game. Now, if you're not familiar with Metamorphosis Alpha, which kind of was a precursor to Gamma World, Metamorphosis Alpha takes place inside a 5-mile diameter, 20-mile long starship called the Warden. And the Warden is a vast, vast starship that was originally a colony ship leaving a ruined Earth behind it to settle on a new planet that had been discovered around a star some distance away in the galaxy. But the ship passes through a radiation storm that damages its onboard computers. And the systems designed to maintain the ship go haywire. And the original maintenance crew is wiped out by the radiation. Now, I say the original maintenance crew because there are thousands and thousands of colonists in cryonic sleep chambers. Unfortunately, these malfunction somewhat. So the colonists that slowly wake up are at least partially amnesic. They've lost their memories. And the radiation has also caused mutations in both wildlife and plants in various hydroponic and garden levels and zoological levels on the ship. So by the time your characters come into being, they don't even realize that they're on a starship that's flying through space. Their whole world might be just the confines of a few square acres on a deck where they live a Bronze Age existence, never really knowing. Well, slowly over time, as you quest and you begin to learn and understand certain things about the ship, surviving, encountering mutant creatures, wolfoids, and so on, you begin to learn the systems of the ship. And as I've asked Jim Ward, over time, the goal was to eventually regain control of the ship, get it back on course, because it hasn't gotten to the planet yet. It didn't fly past it or anything like that, but to get the ship back on course and bring everything back to order again. But it is post-apocalypse. There has been a disaster. The modern conveniences are not to hand. They're gone. Infrastructure, I mean, lots of things are malfunctioning in the ship. So the ease and convenience of existence has been wiped away by the disaster. And then, of course, the next game that came along was Gamma World. Well, I mean, it's not the next role-playing game that came along, but then Gamma World came along in that same vein. Gamma World was very much on Earth, and with the exception of possibly uncovering an extremely rare form of technology, you're not going out into space. And well, I don't want to give too much away about Gamma World yet if you haven't played it. But if you've even seen the cover of the first edition of Gamma World, what we're playing today, you know that Earth is in pretty dire straits. So it's up to you adventurers in Gamma World to try and basically survive. I don't know how fixable Gamma World is at that point. Michael Johnson says Gamma Knights. I know about Gamma Knights, but I'm not 100% up to date on it. I know my Gamma World 1E. So that's about it. So let me see. But that's just a couple of examples. Again, ever since role-playing games have been a thing. Chris, I'm going to answer that question in just a second. Good question from Chris there. Ever since the inception of role-playing games, post-apocalypse has been a thing. And, post-apocalypse doesn't have to be the US and the USSR lob missiles at each other or the machines rise up and destroy us. Let me blow your minds a little bit here. Take your hats off. You don't want to get Duramatter all over them. The Lord of the Rings is a post-apocalypse setting. It is. It really is. Now, let's step away from that for just a second and just give it like a 30,000 foot view. Two great societies clash. The center of civilization is destroyed. Plague sweeps the land, empties out part of the land, and the survivors, all they have are a few relics and artifacts of days gone by. They're living in the shadow of better times in the distant past. That's the Lord of the Rings. Numenor fell. Plague swept the land. I mean, when the Fellowship is turned back at Cahardras, the snowy, or the pass that becomes snow-filled because of Saruman's tampering, and they're marching through the empty lands. I mean, the empty lands is literally a post-apocalypse wasteland. It's implied that there are villages and towns, farms. They're just abandoned, just completely empty. They're gone because of plague that swept through. So, that's a lot of Lord of the Rings. It is a PA world in decline. Greyhawk is absolutely a post-apocalypse setting. The twin calamities, the reign of colorless fire, and the invoked devastation. Two empires nuked each other out of existence. Artifacts, magic items, those were created with ease by those two societies. So when you find that ancient +3 longsword, I mean, that wasn't cranked out by a magic user in the city of Greyhawk a couple of weeks ago and then forgotten in a cave where you found it. That's from the Sewell Empire. That's from ages ago. Greyhawk is absolutely a post-apocalypse setting. And if you really wrap your mind around that concept, you'll understand that the post-apocalypse genre permeates so much fantasy as well as science fiction. Now, to focus a little bit more on the fiction/science fiction of it, the modern fiction, of course, one of the great post-apocalypse games, and I think you guys are going to agree with this, and Chris, I promise I'll answer your question in just a second, is Twilight 2000. Now, Twilight 2000 takes a frighteningly plausible, for the time, understand the game was written in 1986, I think. 1986, released in 87. None of us really knew that the USSR, that the Iron Curtain was going to fall. That Germany's would reunite peacefully, that basically the Soviet Union would just say, we are out of business now. We are no longer in world conquering business. You take it, you Americans. Put McDonald's everywhere. Please put McDonald's here too. Everything in Twilight 2000 was based on then common wisdom that yes, eventually the Soviet Union and the United States, with client states on either one, would come to nuclear blows. And it looked at it from a standpoint not where it's like McCormack McCarthy's The Road, but rather a survivable apocalypse. And they kind of worked backwards from a point, because they were working on 2300, which is a science fiction game set in 2300, where they vaguely mention a war at the end of the 20th century that has led to the world being the way it is in 2300, which is rebuilt, which is high tech. So they started saying, well, okay, how is it that France is like the world superpower? Okay, well, they wouldn't have been destroyed by the war. Well, why wouldn't they have been destroyed by the war? What happened during the war? And so the guys at GDW built Twilight 2000 that way. But again, Twilight 2000 isn't the only nuclear war RPG out there. There's also Aftermath, which kind of puts you, the game master, in the driver's seat. You can pick any number of scenarios to base Aftermath on. You can go with a Planet of the Apes setting where, it's hyper intelligent animals rise up and cause a revolution, which brings down human society. You can go with robot uprising a la Terminator, although that Aftermath predates Terminator by a number of years. You could go with just a simple nuclear war, a biological disaster. The point is, in Aftermath, shit's busted, yo. So a Big Mac with Slav sauce. So, that's Aftermath. Palladium Games had a license, which I don't know if they still make the game, but I could be wrong about this. But Palladium had a license to do a game called After the Bomb, which had to do with time traveling Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or maybe that was just a supplement of it. But I mean, it's right there. It's what it says on the tin, After the Bomb. And of course, how can we forget the Mighty Morrow Project, which there's so much good, cool stuff in the Morrow Project. In the Morrow Project, which is a little bit of Gamma World and a whole lot of Twilight 2000, just in terms of how it feels. But in the Morrow Project, you are a team of special soldiers. You're a Mars team, MARS, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for. Is it military something research science? I don't medical research. But your team, your group of players, is placed by a government body into cryonic sleep so that in the event of a nuclear war that has been predicted by Mr. Morrow, and he's given evidence to the government that, yeah, no, it's going to happen. 15 years after the war, computers thaw you out, and you take all your high-tech equipment, you go to the city that your bolt hole, as it's called, military and research, maybe, and you start rebuilding the city. You've got tech, you can reestablish order, and there's Mars teams coming out of bolt holes all over the country. There's hundreds of thousands of you. You're safe in the bolt holes. There's no danger for you of radiation. Sometime after you're put in cryonic sleep after the war, there's a terrorist attack at Prime Base where the central computer that has networked to all the bolt holes is destroyed or damaged. And it causes all of their cryonic systems to malfunction. You don't come out of cryonic sleep until 150 years later. So you find a very, very different world. It's still wrecked, but now you've got to deal with warlords who are 3, 4, 5 generations in and have established their little fiefdoms. And yes, there's mutants and that sort of thing. I think there's a Seattle source book where after the missiles flew, Soviet airborne units leapfrogged over into Alaska and then came down the Pacific Northwest and attacked Seattle, which had also gotten a bomb, by the way. They came to seize Bremerton and other places in Washington. And they're like the children of the soldiers and just centuries, well, a century and a half of indoctrination. They don't even understand, it's almost like a cargo cult type thing. And you can deal with that. Mobile assault, rescue, and strike. Thank you, Rob. I knew one to see I have the best audience. I knew you guys would know that. I'm gonna pause. And Chris asks, do I know if Jim Ward ever made an explicit in-game connection between Metamorphosis Alpha and Gamma World? I don't know if Jim did, and I can't remember if I've asked him that. But you know what? The next time we get him on the show, we'll ask him. But I do know that hey, good evening, Randy Buckness over on Facebook. See, that's why I have the Facebook comments open, and it's good to see you again, Randy, by the way. But I don't know if Jim ever made that connection. If the ruined planet, the overpopulated, stressed out planet that the warden departed from was the world of Gamma World. I know that later timelines place the warden as having left the Earth of Gamma World. That basically the ship was finished. They loaded it up with supplies, got everybody on board, and then the missiles flew. And so they were just like, screw this, we're out, and just went full throttle out of the solar system. And then at some point down the line, the disaster happens. Oh, here's another, well, I'm not a huge fan, but I know lots of people are. Techumel, Empire of the Petal Throne, post-apocalypse setting. How? Why? Well, it's very simple. Some 10,000 years in the future, there's the world the Empire of the Petal Throne takes place on, and it is a garden world. It is a jewel. It's used for resorts and just all kinds of hedonistic pursuits. And humanity has subjugated the natives. They pinned them back. They forced the wildlife into parks, basically to be studied. And it's a fun little place. Space-time around the planet collapses and throws the solar system into its own pocket reality. It's implied that overuse of warp drives, faster than light drives, weakened the fabric of time and space right there and caused this to happen. And over the course of 50,000 years, cut off from the rest of reality, basically, humans suffer. They, tech is lost, and the planet reverts to a barbaric state. And then slowly, over the course of a few thousand years, after a certain point, humanity begins to claw its way back, but they've still got to contend with the now very pissed off natives. And the world is in the state it's in. There are a few, very, very few tiny hints that they're things that the players not only won't know but can't know because it wouldn't make any sense to them. Because Earth spaceships, faster than light travel, the human empire of 70,000 years before the Empire of the Petal Throne happens, none of that's not even like the dimmest recesses of history. I mean, think about 50,000 years ago. Well, we've got some paintings in a cave in France and a few potsherds and knacked arrowheads and spearheads. And that's it. That's all we've got. We can make some guesses about what their societies were like. But yeah, the world of Empire of the Petal Throne is a post-apocalypse setting. So good fantasy, not just good sci-fi, can very much be a post-apocalypse setting. And you don't have to make your post-apocalypse settings downbeat. I mean, hey, look, I got to be honest with you. If I woke up tomorrow and found out that my front door was a hobbit hole that opened out into the Shire, electricity didn't work anymore, computers, all that, but I still had my books and so on. I tell the family, guess what? We just became farmers. You know, I'd sell my non-working gadgets and other shiny objects off to the hobbits of the Shires, trinkets and oddments and so on, and settle down to grow some potatoes and corn and raise a few sheep. I'd just be as happy as could be, because in a place like the Shire, or even in Bree or Dale, or depending on what period in the end of the Third Age or beginning of the Fourth Age we're talking about, Rohan, Gondor, pretty pleasant places, really. But again, it's post-apocalypse. Now, I've talked a lot about how I'm playing Fallout 4 on my PC and I'm loving it. Obviously, Fallout 4, just the name alone should tell you it's a post-apocalypse setting. If you've never played the Fallout games, if you've been living under a digital rock, you should check them out. Fallout 3 is fairly inexpensive. But the thing that irked me about Fallout 3, and Fallout 4 lets you set about to correcting, is the Fallout games take place 200 years after the bomb. And there are people living in, I mean, people who really want things to be better, and they're living inside hollowed out wreckage. Now, if my lifespan was such, and you can make all the jokes about ghouls in the Fallout setting you want, but if my lifespan was such that I knew that I was going to live for a couple hundred years, at some point in that timeline, I'd get off my ass and get the skeleton, the desiccated skeleton lying in my front yard. I'd give it a decent burial, or you know, burn it and grind up the ashes for soap or something. But it just, it drives me up the wall how in Fallout 3, even the Brotherhood of Steel, the guys that wear power armor and are trying to preserve technology and so on and etc., live in fairly awful conditions. You know, they live in the bombed out ruins of the Pentagon. They've done nothing to better themselves. You can say what you want about the Enclave, but at least until you blow it up, the Enclave's military base in the Capital Wasteland is actually a decent place to be. At least put a hat on the skeleton. Dab DNA asks, is it Dab DNA or Dabdna? I honestly don't know, so I don't know if I'm saying that. Mutant was pitched as Gamma World in Sweden. Gamma World in Sweden, that sounds interesting. But Dabna asks, Traveler, I played it once in 1983. I remember loving the game that day, but never had a chance to play it again. Traveler is not a post-apocalypse setting per se, but there's enough worlds in the Traveler universe that you could absolutely have the characters find a Mad Max post-apocalypse setting. Meanwhile, the Western Brotherhood of Steel lives in clean bunkers. Exactly, Damien. But Fallout 4 lets you build settlements. So I've been having a lot of fun in Fallout 4, basically building post-apocalypse settings. Security fences, fusion generators, proper housing, shops, food, clean water for people to live in. Dave. Okay, I will call you Dave then. But that's just, that's just something that it's just a small touchstone of mine, just a little thing about Fallout that just kind of gets under my gums. All of the Fallout games. Everything is ruined and you can't do anything to fix it. Well, what if so I've got this power armor. What if I just spend my days, my free time just moving heavy supplies in and building proper houses instead of like tin shacks that would fall over in a stiff breeze for megaton? No, no, I can't do that. They're happy living in the ruins of airliners that are 200 years old. It's just, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. Mutant was BRP. I think the new ones might be 2D20. I don't know. I'll take your word for that. My Shatner-esque pause brings up something else. Star Trek is a post-apocalypse setting. Go look at Star Trek lore. I mean, in the original Star Trek, they were right up front. They said, yeah, humanity was on the brink of exterminating itself. Was it the Gary 7 episode, which was actually supposed to launch a separate TV series, which would have been pretty good. But I mean, Space Seed, Khan was a general who and Spock talks about that period. Entire populations were being bombed out of existence, implying that right about now in our own history, Khan and his followers had no problems lobbing tac nukes at cities. And considering Khan's background, he may have come from Pakistan or from India. That could have been a whole hot war going on in Central Asia. Low-level hot war. But it's always been implied in Star Trek that the world is right on the brink early in the 21st century before Zefram Cochrane goes out and meets some Vulcans and, parties down listening to Louie Louie with him or whatever it was in Star Trek First Contact. So the takeaway from all of this is that the post-apocalypse genre runs across a gamut of other genres, underscoring it, highlighting it. Yes, The Lord of the Rings is post-apocalypse. Yes, Greyhawk is post-apocalypse. Gamma World, which we're playing tonight. By the way, if you've just come to the stream and you're like, check it, you're like, what are you live streaming Gamma World? Are you going to read from rules? No. Me and a group, we're actually going to be playing Gamma World tonight on live stream in the back half of the show. And that will hopefully be good fun. I think it will be. I think you guys will have a lot of fun. But yes, Metamorphosis Alpha. They're all post-apocalyptic settings. And you can really spice up your games by dipping into that. Now, if you don't want to have like, something like Twilight 2000 where you can accidentally drive through a tac nuke bomb crater and everybody gets a few more radiation points. You don't have to do the end of Planet of the Apes, Heston finding the Statue of Liberty, which is a great movie ending, by the way. But you can spice little things up. And when you're doing a post-apocalypse setting that's deep enough in the future. See, that's what I don't like about Tekkamil's post-apocalypse. Here are grav sleds. They're flying chariots from ages past. The characters will never know this. They're effectively magic to them. There's no chance for them to ever understand that they're anything but magic. But trust us, they're from a post-apocalypse time. Or from a pre-apocalypse time, rather. They're actually tech. They're anti-grav sleds that, have had power supplies that have lasted for 50,000 years. I don't think even plutonium has that long of a half-life if it was just raw plutonium fueling the things. But sprinkle those things in there and give your characters a chance. Now, I don't mean, like, again, to go back to Greyhawk, you don't have to have the characters find a wand of power that is in fact a machine gun. Although that can happen in Greyhawk. The starship in I keep wanting to say Metamorphosis Alpha. It's not that. Expedition of the Barrier Peaks. You can have that. But if you're going with the Middle Earth setting, these swords were forged in Gondolin for the Goblin Wars. That was way the hell back in the Second Age. Or the damasked blades that Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam got from the Barrow Whiteslayer. They were magicked to fight the ring wraiths. But they were made in a time that is long forgotten. Oh, Paranoia. Paranoia is another great post-apocalypse setting. It's hilarious, but it at some point humanity went into vaults, rather like in the Fallout series. I wonder if they kind of lifted a little bit from that. Machine level of the expanded Castle Greyhawk. Thank you, yes, Mar. But yeah, so in the I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by comments in a good way. Remember reading somebody made the Warden cause a Blackmore retroactively. Oh, right. We were talking about Paranoia. Everybody goes to live in underground vaults, and the computer goes crazy because the commies started the war. So everybody's a commie. If you haven't played Paranoia, give it a look. Give it a look. It is hilarious and hilariously deadly. So it's very good stuff. Anyway, A-Week says, I think I remember somebody made the Warden the cause of Blackmore retroactively. Sure. I mean, there's more post-apocalypse stuff. In Dave Arneson's Blackmore, it's a crashed spaceship that is the city of the gods. I mean, look at the cover. I think it's DA3, the city of the gods, has spaceships. These people are living high tech. Titans forged these for use against the gods, swords from the first wars. Yeah, Lord Corion's got it. You mentioned Titans. It is pure science fiction, and I'm not crazy about a lot of it, but the game Eclipse Phase is a post-apocalypse setting. Earth is gone. Humanity has been all but exterminated. I mean, yes, there's tens of millions, possibly even hundreds of millions in outer space, but that's down from a population of about 20 billion human souls. So, again, the point of all of this, guys, the point of all of this is you can sprinkle a lot of post-apocalypse into whatever game you're playing and spice it up. Is it perfect for everything? I don't think so. I don't think it fits every game setting. I don't think of Lankmar as being a post-apocalypse setting. Um, just for example. I think Lankmar is fine on its own just as a swords and sorcery setting. Um, Conan, that's not really a post-apocalypse setting. I mean, you can even do a post-apocalypse setting in ancient times if you were doing a fantasy Earth. Hey, what was the center of all culture and technology? Well, it was this place called Atlantis that sank under the sea. Rob asks, well, I'm going to put this up on the screen. There you go, Damien. The oceans drank Atlantis and the rise of the sons of Ares. There was an age undreamed of. Have I ever considered Greyhawk's twin cataclysms happening in game settings designed to split Gary and Dave's Blackmore from D&D and AD&D? I mean, I think it's a fair question. For my end game, no. I mean, in my Greyhawk setting, Blackmore is coterminous with the world of Greyhawk and its own world setting. You get around up in the land of black ice, and things just get wiggy. Things just get strange. There's energy vortexes and portals. There's stuff you don't want to mess with up in the land of black ice in Greyhawk because of in the Blackmore setting. Now, I don't know if I'll ever do anything with this on the tabletop, but in the Blackmore setting, in my own headcanon, even though that ship is crashed in the Blackmore setting and trapped under ice, its hyperdrive still sporadically pulses out energy, which is why it exists in two places at once. It's kind of the superposition sort of quantum effect there. I don't know anything about quantum physics. If that's wrong, don't at me. So yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities to play with post-apocalypse settings. I mean, um, if you're playing an Elfstones of Shannara game, spoiler alert, Elfstones of Shannara is Earth, like our Earth after a nuclear exchange. It causes magic and and supernatural beings to come back into life. You know, you can have your characters like, oh, that you're walking along, you're trudging through the great deep desert. You have to go down a set of steep bluffs that seem to just go down forever, and then you're crossing an extremely dry desert with these there's a great salt sea located somewhere in the cold north, and so on, and you pass you're walking along and your feet are clanking on metal, and what is it? Well, you kind of hint around it, but you never completely reveal they're walking on the deck of a sunken ship that sank to the bottom of the ocean, which is now a dry salt plain. You know, the say the southern Atlantic Ocean is dried up. It's fantasy. It doesn't have to make sense. I know it couldn't dry up because it would just rain someplace else. Speaking of which, this was an interesting scientific fact. I just gotta jump into some into some science here. I heard this a few years ago, and I've gone back and looked at this. Um, there is more chemical water locked in the bedrock underneath North America than is in both great oceans. They know they've like radar sound. I don't just mean that there's a big, huge underground sea. Like we couldn't just drill down and say, "Hey, look, there's water." It's locked in the strata. It's like long chains of the molecules. You'd have to figure out how to process it out of the rock. So the whole the seas will eventually dry up in 2,000 years. You're welcome to do what you want with your own science fantasy setting. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying, in reality, we would figure out how to catalytically crack that stuff out. We've got plenty of drinking water, guys. Don't worry about it. The Empire of the East and the Book of Swords, written by Saberhagen. You bring up Saberhagen. Try that again. You bring up Saberhagen, but that is another author who did great PA stuff. Not just there, but the Berserker books. In the Berserker novels, the Berserkers are war machines from two massive empires that went to war with each other. And the empire that invented the Berserkers won. They won in that their enemies were eliminated, and then the artificially intelligent, small planet-sized berserkers, although they can produce stuff as small as like the size of a crab, turned on them and said, "Well, you programmed us to destroy all life, any potential for life, wherever we can find it. That we did, and you did a great job. All right, y'all are next." Whoa, wait a minute. So the berserkers turned on the builders and wiped them out, and then just kind of drifted aimlessly through the galaxy until they came across the empires of humanity. So you basically got the weapons of an apocalypse that happened to these two space empires drifting into humanity. And before he passed away, many of the Berserker books dealt with humanity delving into the secrets of these two races and finding out just how tragic the whole setting was. Hello, quick save F5. What's another another great science fiction PA setting? And it was right on the tip of my tongue. Oh well, it'll probably come to me tonight after the live stream or something. I'll go, aha, and then I'll put it in the comments, and no one will read it or respond to it. but there's a whole lot of good ideas to be mined in the post-apocalypse. Now, I will tell you guys, unabashedly, I love, with a capital L, Twilight 2000. Twilight 2000 is phenomenal. It's fun to have high-tech tank battles, and yet at the same time, you know, oh hey, we start the game with an M1 and a full tank of fuel and 40 rounds of anti-tank shells, and we've got a couple of crates of shoulder fired anti-tank rockets, and the rest of the team is following us in a Humvee, and they've got a still and that sort of thing. And that's all awesome. That's all cool. You can wage a one-team war against the remnants of the Soviet Motor Rifle Company, and 6 months in, you've dug in your tank into a hillside because it's a pillbox, because it doesn't go anymore, because you threw a track and there ain't no U.S. Army depots in the middle of post-nuke Western Poland. You shot off all but 4 of your main gun rounds. You've got a few hundred rounds of 50 cal, but at this point, half your troops, whom you press gang from a nearby Polish village, they're armed with bows and arrows and machetes made from lawnmower blades. That's something you can have a lot of fun with. Okay, so I read One World of Tears book. I didn't realize that it was a post-apocalypse setting. Armageddon 2419, yes. Dave, my love for you is like a truck. Berserker. I will not say what comes next. Berserker. Yeah, I mean, conceptually, Waterworld, if you just wanted to throw out most common sense with Waterworld, yeah, I mean, with Waterworld, you would have to you'd have to make some deep assumptions and decisions about Waterworld. Either one, just throw science out completely. Just look, I don't care about real science. I just want to have a planet where everything on Earth got swamped. Everything is now underwater, and it's ships and man-made archipelagos anchored to the tallest mountain ranges. Um, or you might make a concession that the seas have risen and that much of the world, except for high mountain ranges and high plains and so on, are underwater, because a completely water covered planet, you would have constant hurricanes, just nonstop. There's nothing to slow them down. Earth would wind up with a great white spot, like the great red spot on Jupiter. We would just have a cyclone that would take up a quarter of the Earth's clouds, and we would quickly become a greenhouse planet also. The people that create the worlds in WOT, Pull to Berserkers, I don't know that one. WOT. But no, Waterworld was conceptually a very interesting setting. A very interesting setting. And I think it gets short shrift just because of the movie. Now, little movie trivia, Waterworld was a financial success. It made its production money and a profit. Not a huge profit, but people give it a lot of grief. I think it made its money back through the Waterworld, the arcade game. You guys remember that episode of The Simpsons? Milhouse goes into an arcade. Waterworld, wow! And he puts 50 cents in and moves the joystick, and Kevin Costner moves to the left like 4 steps. And on screen it says, "Game over. Insert 50 cents to continue." And Milhouse puts some more money in and walks 4 steps. That's how it made its money back. Hot House by Aldous. There was another one. I think it was by Brian Aldous. It was oh gosh, I've gone blank now. The Nitrogen Fix. I'm gonna look that up now. I probably got that wrong. It was Harry Clement Stubbs. But there's an eco-apocalypse on Earth that basically all of the Earth's oxygen becomes locked up in nitrogen. It's unbreathable. So people have to go around wearing breathing apparatuses, and the nitrogen has led to the rapid decay of metals and so on and etc. It's an interesting book. It's not great, but it is interesting. Death World, that's another one. So guys, this is how you should learn to stop worrying and love the bomb, or the eco disaster, or the magic apocalypse. The magic goes away. That has many apocalypses in it. The collapse of magic, the sinking of Atlantis. Canticle for Leibowitz, the classic one, Canticle for Leibowitz. I have not read that one yet, Smar. BIOS by Charles Robert Wilson. Plandemic. Plandemic, yeah. I feel you, man. But Canticle for Leibowitz is a good one. Another good one is Alas, Babylon. And by the way, if you're going to play some Twilight 2000, or if you're going to play I just said it, Morrow Project or Aftermath, it was very short-lived, tragically short-lived, but very, very good. Check out the TV show Jericho. I think it's on. It's fallen so far off the radar. It's like on Crackle. Like if you get a streaming device, you can just like the free channel like that, and the channel that shows like literally like not open source, what is it, uncopyrighted movies, like the ones you can watch on YouTube, you can watch on this streaming service. But yeah, check out Jericho. Jericho borrows a lot from Alas, Babylon, and it deals it's a post-apocalypse setting, an immediately post-apocalypse setting. What do? We're isolated from everything. we only had to worry about a little bit of fallout, but now, the semi truck that comes and stocks up our little grocery store once every other week, yeah, it's not coming anymore. The gas station that gets gas in, gets it in every 2 weeks, it's not getting gas anymore. Space 1999. Yeah, that's a good one. Blake 7. Everybody tells me I should watch Blake 7. I never have. Can't hold my apocalypse. But yeah, those are very good. You could make the case that Space 1999 is kind of a post-apocalypse setting. I think a world where the moon got pulled away from the Earth, the situation on Earth would make a much better post-apocalypse setting than what the folks on Moonbase Alpha, because the people on Moonbase Alpha never seem to suffer any privation. Space 1999 was just lost in space, except the spaceship was the moon. I mean, it's preposterous, but an explosion pushes the moon out of the Earth's orbit and it goes flying off through space. You've got all those spaceships. The moon's not moving away at the speed of light. Why the hell didn't you just get on the ships and fly back to Earth? But when I was a kid, I liked it. I thought it was cool. So in about 15 minutes, guys, we're going to have some Twilight 2000 kicking off. And I hope you guys, atomic waste explosion. Yeah. An explosion powerful enough to push the moon out of the Earth's orbit would vaporize the moon and the Earth. That's a big chunk of rock you're talking about. But anyway, in about 15 minutes, Battlestar Galactica. Yes, both of them. Hey, look, I'm probably going to get Rotten Tomatoes thrown at me here. I liked the 2009 Battlestar Galactica. I did. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Whenever it came out, 2009, 2011, whatever. I really liked it. But as I watch my viewer count. But anyway, speaking of viewers, we are currently holding at, I believe, 904. We are 96 subs on the YouTube channel away from the glorious event, the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. Guys, you have done such an incredible job of going out there and spreading the word about this channel. I can't thank you enough. You guys have done such a phenomenal thing here. You've made such, I'll agree with that. The Caprica was bad. But you guys have made such an impact on me. When I came back to this, I wasn't really gone for that long. I think it was like 5 days in December. But when I came back to this, I had people jump on Patreon, which you can do. You don't have to. I love you just the same. But if you want to support on Patreon, patreon.com/thedelversdungeon for as little as $1 a month. As little as $1 a month. If you want to support the show on Patreon, you can. But if you're supporting the show by having clicked subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications, and you're going out there telling, hey, go check this guy's YouTube channel out. Go check out Bill Sylvie's The Dungeon Delvers YouTube channel. And driving subs, that's worth its weight in gold. Because when we hit 1,000 subs, guys, we're going to have that con. We're going to have that convention. Paul Stormberg will run games. I will run games. My co-host, Kyle Schuant, will run games. I have many other people who've reached out to me in the stream. Hey, when you do the con, how do I run games? And I'm going to wind up with more people running games and participating in games. What a problem to have. So thank you, thank you, thank you all so very, very much. And don't leave. Don't run off and be like, oh, Bill's getting to the thank you section. No, no. We're coming to the midstream break because soon you guys are going to get to see some Gamma World. That's right. You're going to get to actually see Gamma World played live. Now, one thing I'll tell you, the live AD&D sections have had a bit of educational value to them. It kind of started out as a, let's learn about AD&D together sort of thing. But Gamma World it's just a little bit of fun. It's a lot of fun, really. So hopefully you'll want to you'll want to stick around and you'll want to watch that. Dave says, "Let's play GW." Well, we got to wait for everybody to get here. We're waiting on a few folks. To get in the studio. I have sent out the links to those appropriate, and when they all get here, we'll play. But guys, Gamma will be one of the games that I'll run at the con. So if you're like, oh man, I'd like to play, but I don't want to be on live, or I can on Friday nights or whatever. Don't worry, you'll have a chance to play some 1E Gamma World. And it'll be lots of fun. I promise. So stick around. We're gonna have us a fine old time this evening. So yeah. So are there any questions about post-apocalypse setting, about Gamma World, about me, about the show, anything at all? Any questions you guys have got? Stoked to see me play. Never had a chance. Well, I hope you'll enjoy it. While we're waiting on players to sign in, I am streaming the Gamma World game here on YouTube and on Facebook. If you're watching over on Facebook, I'm not going away. You can still watch it on Facebook. I'm strongly consider. I hate the place, but I'm thinking about adding Twitch. I don't know. But I want more of a visual element than just my jolly face and a bunch of on-screen icons at the time before I make that decision. But that's for down the road. But before we get started on Gamma World, because that's going to kick off here in about 10 minutes, I want to take a minute here. Let me just have a quick look at something. Want to just have a look see. I needed to check on something before I launched into this, so I apologize. Isn't it strange the Fallout games don't have shields? I mean, bullets have to be rare, so melee has to be more prominent. You'd think bullets were rare, but you're talking to a guy whose character is walking around with 2,000 plus shotgun shells, 4,000 minigun rounds. I don't know how many 45 caliber rounds for the spray and pray. It's a lot. It's a lot. Bullets are not rare in my Fallout game. Although there's Fallout Survival mode you can turn on where like ammo weighs, and I would not be carrying around that much stuff. And a gazillion bottle caps, yeah. But anyway, I want to take a minute and I want to give a big thanks to our Patreons at this time. Digital Discord, Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, 8 Mobius 8, Kevin Reynolds, Joseph Lucas, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damian X247, James F. Keck, William Smith, and the Dungeon Minister. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for participating on Patreon. It really helps. It really does help, and I can't thank you enough. If you're considering, if you're like, I want to see what this Patreon is all about, I want to see what I get for $5 a month, check it out. If you don't like it, if an extra video for you is not your thing, you can unsubscribe. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna flip out. But again, and I want to emphasize this before people run away. He's talking about Patreon again. He's panhandling. Again, guys, I appreciate everyone who participates, regardless of whether you're on Patreon, you're subbed to the channel, whatever you're doing. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I do this for you guys. All right. I'm never going to be a rock star. I'm never going to be a movie star. This is as close as I've got. And you guys make it fun, Since I started doing these in the evening, like I used to live stream during the day, and I would get elated if I'd get over like 6 viewers. Now I usually average about 9 or 10 people, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is. It really is. And I've seen some streams like approach like 20 people in the audience, and that makes me happy. So I'm glad I went tonight, and I'm glad of my audience. And like I said, when I came back after a few days in December, I had no idea that things were going to blow up like this, and that you guys were going to do what you did and get us just like whoosh. In literally 4 weeks, we've gone from like, just under 800. I think so. A month ago, what is today? Today is the 28th. So we'll call it 5 weeks ago. We were sitting in the high 700s. That's how rapidly you guys have grown the channel. And I thank you so much for that. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. Till the post-apocalypse, and you're the last thing broadcasting. Remember, remain indoors. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something about tonight's stream. I thought about doing a special version of the credits, where like halfway through the beautiful strains of Bards of Greyhawk's Summer Mountains that they wrote just for me, that I would have it dissolved to static and then into the emergency broadcast system, but just like find an EBS broadcast on YouTube and just merge it in for like, a nuclear attack. But then I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, that might actually scare the hell out of somebody. I maybe won't do that. I watched Nerdrotic Geeks Gamers and Friday Night Tights earlier. They want to play D&D on their channel. Well, put me in touch with them. I'll do it right. I'll play D&D. Not too many 1E fans. So what? Spread the gospel. Be the 1E fan. Be the guy out there talking the good talk. But hey, wherever you guys spread the word about the channel, I appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it, guys. I really do. Whatever you do, however you do it. Yep, just got to make more 1E fans. Because as I've said before, as I have said, there is a very, very, very simple method of making AD&D fans run AD&D, sit them down and play original D&D or AD&D, and I guarantee they're going to like it. They're not going to go, oh, Vaco, oh my gosh, OD&D, where elves are their own class. People don't act like that in public. There might be 1 in 1,000 who do, but you can usually suss them out. Run classic D&D for people, and you will get fans of classic D&D. When they see the simplicity, the beauty of it, you will have classic D&D fans. I promise you. I promise you. Let not your heart be heavy. So in just a few minutes, literally just a few minutes, I don't mean a few minutes in the sense of it could be 10, it could be 30. In just a few minutes, we're going to start first edition Gamma World. So just going to set up here, get my headphones on so I can hear everyone on the chat. And now, sorry, headphones users, for rasping in your ears like that as I'm clearing my throat. Not all of our guests will be using camera. That's fine. That's absolutely okay. I told them, look, there's no pressure. This isn't a TV show. And I mean, how many times have you watched a TV show and it's like, so-and-so reporting from such and such, and it's just a picture of him in the middle of the screen with audio only. So I'm sorry if it's not a moving pictures experience for you. Besides, I've been told by many people, oh yeah, I listened to your show like the day after it's live. I'm like, you listen to the show? Yeah. You realize that I show stuff on screen. Yeah, but it's all good. Okay. So for those people, Rob says, I'll figure out how to use Patreon and Super Chats to plug then. Well, Rob, I don't have Super Chats up, but I do have the Patreon. So, you do you. You do you. So let me just set myself. Can I do this? No, it won't change unless I have other people. So I'm going to add our gaming crew then to the screen. If I have to watch one more person, one thing I promise, unless it's the anniversary live stream when I will be here for like all day streaming, I will not eat on stream. I promise you, I will not eat on stream. And even then, I may dip aside. Like I may lean down. So, all right. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin Gamma World. Welcoming Yang and Zhao. Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Welcoming Mo. How are you, my friend?
Evening. Uh-oh.
Welcoming Yesmar.
Hey, guys.
And last and definitely not least, Barungo. Barungo, are you there? Hey, somebody's got a radio on. If you could mute that would be awesome. So I don't want to get copyright struck, and I'm just going to keep talking over it until you say you have. So music off, whoever. Thank you. I just sorry. I just really don't want the channel to take a hit there. I appreciate that. So, gentlemen, are you ready to play some Gamma World First Edition?
Ready? Heck yeah.
All right.
Can you hear me or not?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Awesome. Perfect.
All right. So we have our little group here. Now, I feel it's necessary to open. Gamma World can be goofy. Gamma World can be fun. But I always, even when I was a kid, I thought this introduction was quite chilling and very telling. And this is from the opening of Gamma World. And lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, and every free man hid themselves in dens in the rocks and in the mountains. There followed a hail of fire, and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the cities of the nation fell. From the book of Revelations. This is Gamma World. This was many, many years ago, long before our characters were born into it. The twisted, strange world that you've grown up in is one where mutants, out of control androids, radiation storms, biotoxin pools, killer plants, deserts where inland seas once were, such things are now the norm. You've led as comfortable a life as you would imagine anyone could have. You're located in an outpost that is called Station 76, or rather Outpost 76. And indeed, whoever created the place must have thought it was of great import, for the building of the lawgivers and lore masters, which is at the center of your small walled village, has a mighty post of metal, and atop it, although faded by decades of sun and radiation, still proudly there in blue and orange, a circle emblazoned with the numbers 76. This has been your home, mutants, humans alike, sharing a common goal of trying to survive in times of strife. You've relied on trading, and in exchange for goods, you've kept a watch over the western wastes. You've used runners and other methods to warn those in the greener valleys to the east and below where you stand in the hills of hordes of mutants, incoming radiation storms, so on and etc. The leader of your village, whose title is that of Tekanish, has stood in the building of the great glass oracle and has forewarned of radiation storms and great sweeping dust clouds that would otherwise overwhelm the good people who trade with you. And it's been a mutually beneficial relationship. But strangely, the town of Goodwater, that provides you most of your agricultural needs, has not sent traders in many, many weeks. And it is thus that Steve of the Tekanish, has called a meeting in the town square near the building of the ancients and the halls of records. And so you're all standing there pensively as the deacons roll the mobile altar of Steve of the Tekanish out on its four soft, spongy wheels. Steve sits there stoically in the front bench, regards you all as he opens the door to the great mobile altar and intones the ancient words, "Howdy, folks. Just need a fill up." And everyone, of course, responds as you've been taught since you were children. Sure, that and maybe a Coke. And Steve regards you all solemnly and says, friends, the folks of Goodwater have been incommunicado with us. This is an ancient word. It means we have no communications. Communications is an ancient word, which means they have not sent us any food. This is a dire situation. I have consulted the great glass oracle in the Hall of Records, and I have seen and interpreted the images upon it. It will be a rough, rough season of radiation storms as the time of cold comes to us before the time of heat. Our meager crops here cannot sustain a stall. We know that the ground will become tainted by the storms, as it always does, and we must move that earth away. The dung of the farm animals will not suffice to make it so that it grows again. We must discover what has happened. And yet also, as you are well aware, during our last meeting, our scouts reported that once again, the mutants of the Western Waste were sore pressed to turn against us again. And so we cannot send a large delegation to conversate with the folks of Goodwater. Conversate is an ancient word which means communicate. And communicate is an ancient word which means give a good talking to. And thus, it is to the youth I must turn. And there are gasps and cries, and mothers clutch their children away. And you've never seen Steve this serious before, as he stands there in his ceremonial blue coverall, emblazoned with the round satin white oval with his name on it. And he holds up his hands and says, no, no, I would not separate families. I would not force anyone into this task. But I must ask those who can be brave, those who can be strong, travel you to Goodwater and to the villages beyond and discover why no food has come, why no clean water has come. We must have these things, for if we are swept away by the radiation storms, then evil will pour through this mountain pass into the valleys below, and that will be the end of us. Who will step forward for those of us here at Outpost 76? And he steps on the ceremonial spongy rope, and there is a solemn dinging of a bell from the awning overhanging the ceremonial plaza. He looks expectantly in the direction of the young mutants and humans. That's you guys.
Barnaby steps forward. Can you hear me?
Brun joins them.
Bubbles will raise his hand and waddle over.
Bronco slowly walks forward, looking at the ground.
A few others start to amble forward, and he holds up his hand and says, no, no. It pains me to send you 4 stout lads into the wilderness. I can ask for no more than this. All of you, think of these brave tribesfolk in your prayers as you contemplate and meditate. Come, and he gestures towards the large rolling door, which is slowly, solemnly opened into the Hall of Records.
Run moves forward so we can check it out.
Yeah,
All right,
well,
so you guys have very rarely seen the Hall of Records opened, ever. The door is metal. It is made of long slats, which are jointed. They curl like fingers and make an opening. You've never seen this place. You've seen it from a distance, once, maybe twice during ceremonies in your life, but you're actually going in. And you stand there, and the room seems to be of a dingy gray stone. There are curious squares and cubes and rectangle of a reddish hue. Some of them show brownish spots here and again, and others still small caved in spots. And there are many shining metal implements that you don't recognize arrayed on a bench and hanging on a wall. And Steve turns around and he addresses you and says, "Young warriors, it pains my heart to even ask you, being so youthful, to go forward in this, and I cannot leave you on your own, not empty-handed and without any protection. These are ancient sigils warded on these shields, which, if I interpret the old writings right, will possibly cause your opponents to stay their hands." And he goes over, and there's a something metallic stacked in the corner, and he brings them out and hands you each a shield. One is perfectly round. It is yellow. All these are scuffed up and show signs of browning of the metal, but these seem to be in fairly good condition. Anyway, it's round. It's about 2 feet in diameter. It's yellow and has a black X across the middle of it. And on either side of the X is, your letters, the common words of the old. Steve was very insistent that everyone at least have a basic understanding of written languages, so you can all read and write at least something of a degree of proficiency, unless you just want to have your characters be completely illiterate. That's fine with me. But anyway, on the front of the shield, on either side of the X, is the letter R and the letter R. What did it mean? It's cryptic. You don't know. Another shield that's handed to you is even stranger. It is a yellow triangle. You're not sure which point should be up, but it features a rectangle that reminds you of the altar of the Tekanish, but in front of it there are wavy lines. The third shield has 8 sides. It is bright red, and it is emblazoned with the word "stop." If Steve of the Tekanish speaks true, then any foe approaching whoever wields this shield will surely have to heed what it says.
Everyone wants that shield. Does anyone object?
I can't read what it says anyways. Take it.
Ron
Bubbles
accepts the-
doesn't object.
No argument.
I'll take
Thank
the yellow
you.
one.
For free.
And the fourth shield is of a it is rectangular. It's almost like a great tower shield. And the device on it is white, and it has a black device on it that has what looks like an image of a shield on it, and an arrow that goes upwards but goes around the shield. Perhaps this is an enchanted shield of some kind. Perhaps the fates will favor whoever yields this, showing that the shield must be avoided.
Is it
So
shiny?
What's interesting about all these shields is that as you turn them over in your hands and they catch the light streaming through the panes of the window on the roof of the Hall of Records, is that they catch the light in a particular way. They seem to glitter deeply within their colored finish.
Bubbles would like that.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Yang. You have the talking stick.
I would like this one. I like how it shines.
Yes, all of them to a greater or lesser degree have a similar shine to that. But this one being all white shines the most. So Bubbles has the shield being avoided. Who was it that took the shield that says stop on it?
Oh, that was Brun.
Okay. And that leaves the other two, the X with the R's on it.
Mo will take that one.
And last but not least, the triangular shield that features, again, what looks like a crude representation of Steve's rolling altar on it. Uh-oh, we lost somebody. Okay. Well, there he is. Mo, you're back.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't sure.
Yes, we can hear you now. So the shield's chosen. He then says, I pray that you will not need these. And please think to using your minds. You're all brilliant in your way. He he basically hands out, he has 2 crossbows and 2 swords of bright metal. Now the crossbows, you've seen like the guards when they fought mutants that have come to attack the village before. These are powerful weapons. I mean, you've seen a skilled guard take down a mutant with just a couple of bolts from this. And they have parts that are made from a brownish metal, and their strings are made from woven strands of metal. It is said by some of the guards that they are made from the parts of ancient machines. So these are powerful, powerful weapons. And there's a case of 20 quarrels to go with each. So there's 2 of those and 2 swords rather. So I will let you guys decide what to do with that while he prepares a little bit more of goodies for you.
The sword's long or short?
They're short.
Okay. Who feels like doing missile combat versus melee? Any preferences?
I'll take one of those crossbows. If nobody minds.
I'll take a crossbow.
All right. Bubbles will pick up the short sword and marvel at how it shines in the light.
And you said there was 20 bolts?
Yes, there's a case of 20 bolts in each. And for those who are curious, the weapon class of the swords is 3. The weapon class of the crossbows is 9. If you have your PDF handy. So when it comes to physical combat, And your armor class with the tough furs that you're wearing and the shields that you'll have. Just a moment.
I think.
So furs and shield
AC 7.
should be. Let me just double check. And of course, armor class is in the rule book 134 times. Thank you, Jim. Armor class. There we go. So yes, furs or skins and shield. That is armor class 7. That is correct.
Okay.
All right. You also get packs with some clean water in jars and some dried fruit and dried meat and good solid baked bread in there. And any other small items that you want or need, you can basically get here. Is there anything you guys want? Dave says the yellow triangle means you're offline. Everybody's offline. That's the beauty of a post-apocalypse setting.
Stop.
I was wondering if I could get a sling.
A sling, that's a good question. Let's see if somewhere in what Steve is referring to as the armory. You've always called this the Hall of Records. Steve refers to the room you're in as the armory. Let's see. Yes, there is a sling there. Now, as far as ammunition, you'll have to pick up rocks.
That's fine. Yep.
Is there like a dagger laying around that Brun could have?
No, there is not one handy. Of course, that's not to say you couldn't pick up maybe if you can find a piece of sandstone along the way or glass or maybe even ancient metal, you could fashion yourself something. But at the moment, they do not have a dagger to spare. Now, clubs abound. If you wish, if each of you wishes a club, clubs abound. So,
I'll take a club.
All right,
I'm done.
Bubbles will pick one up.
So Mo.
I'll stick with my sword for now.
Bubbles can just throw poop.
For other things.
That's part of the plan.
Oh God, why did I? Why did I? What is wrong with me? Alrighty, so you are well equipped and you will set off in the morning. Is there anything in passing anyone wishes to do prior to this?
Oh, Bubbles would like to find some bandages.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention there are cloth and plant fiber bandages packed into your packs along with the food.
Cool.
Tourniquets, that kind of thing. And the sling, by the way, sling projectiles are also weapon class 9. The clubs are weapon class 1. Actually, you know what? I'm going to bump the clubs up to weapon class 2 because these are made of metal and they have kind of a strange crescent-shaped prong on the end that's square in the middle. And Steve mumbles something about in ancient times they were used to drive the demons out of malfunctioning machines. But they're all about 2 feet long and made of very heavy brown iron. So, with that said, you have bandages if you need. You have the water bottles you have if you ration the water before you really need to find a source. And the valleys below are green. It's where the growing all went. Percussive maintenance, yes, Lord Corion's got it. That there's water down there, streams, ponds, and whatnot. But for the time being, for getting down there, you should have enough water. It's a couple of days for each of you worth of drinking water. Of course, if one of you falls, then that's more water for the rest of you. Not that would happen. Okay. If any of you have family there at Outpost 76, then your last night is a pensive but proud one with them, as they are very sure that you'll be able to carry the day.
I was in the Hall of Records.
You were in the Hall of Records. Yes, everyone just like peppers you with questions about the Hall of Records. What was it like? Where did you see gods? Did you see the Great Glass Oracle? You saw none of those things, but feel free to embellish your stories as you feel like. Dave asks, weapons class. Weapon in Gamma World, rather than doing a 2-hit roll based on skill and whatnot when you're using a weapon, you go by weapons class. Like a fusion rifle is weapon class 16, and you're going to hit virtually every armor class with it. Like if the target's armor class is 10, you need only roll a 10 or better to shoot them with a fusion class. And because their armor class is 10, they're probably going to just go away when you shoot them with a fusion rifle. So it's kind of an interesting combat system. Alrighty, sunrise of the next day. Much of the village is working, but mothers and brothers and sisters are there to see you off. Bubbles, your family gives you a packet of bananas to take on the road with you. Bananas in the in the Gamma World time being about that long. So it's a light snack. It's like a handful of bananas. So
I guess Steve points us out in the right direction towards Goodwater.
Yes, you have seen this and you have wondered for ages, for all your life, where the stony gray path leads, and he points you to the east and south, and the stony gray path winds down and curves away into the hills beneath you.
Well, guys, I think we're headed to Goodwater on the stony path.
No time like the present. Take my first step down the road.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so departing the camp, or rather, I should say, departing the village.
Waving at Mom.
Yeah, she's waving back.
Cobblestone kind of thing. Or-
Path of the Ancients.
Path of the Ancients. Yes, it's made
cracked and pitted by countless rains.
Yes, many little tiny stones, all seemingly stuck together with some grayish substance that sometimes when you step on it, it just seems to crumble away under your moccasined feet, and there are other bits of it that are as hard as any natural rock you've seen. Peeking through the weeds occasionally, you see portions of it that have parallel yellow, whitish lines on, but those are very infrequent.
What do the lines mean?
You have no idea. It is a thing of the ancients. You are not sure.
Do the lines on the ground match the lines on anyone's shield? Or are they similar?
Interestingly, the color of the yellow, if you examine them and move the weeds back a bit, one of them, the color of the yellow is very similar to the yellow on a couple of your shields, in that it seems to have a degree of that sparkly reflectiveness to it.
It's a sign. You guys should go first.
Yes. Perhaps your shields will lead us the way.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but here we go.
I look at my shield and it seems a little straighter than this.
Raise my shield. Keep going forward.
All right,
Take
well,
one more step.
so yes, your shield shows no signs of being near. If it is affected by the the proximity to the two lines, it doesn't display any signs of that. So you walk down the road and you're thinking to yourself, we could beat a good water in perhaps a day. The going is very easy. I mean, you occasionally have to step around a great rent in the land or climb over some rubble. Eventually, though, your road does give way to an even larger one. It seems to merge into a larger one that turns straight towards the rising sun, straight towards the east. Almost as though this path, it reminds you of a stream, of a tributary. But of course, there's no water here.
Do we know which way we're supposed to go to get to good water?
That good water is to the east. And Steve was very clear on that you follow just follow the road and it will take you to the east. So
is the road continuing east here?
Yes, it goes I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. The road that you're on, as it comes out of the hills, curves on to this larger road that goes to the east. It is very wide. It is as wide as the road in front of Outpost 76 and the entirety of the center of Outpost 76 combined.
It's almost like 4 lanes.
You're not sure why you think of that, but yes, it almost is. Perhaps even more. And you can see now there are stumps of, you're not sure if it's carved white stone, but there are regularly spaced on either side stumps of it that are chin high to Bubbles. And there are rusted brown metal stumps affixed to each of those. Going down the center of this road is an equally high, it's crumbled completely away in places, but where you're at, there's an equally high fence or wall of some kind. The heat of the day, you can see it shimmering off the stone path as it stretches out towards you to the east, and there is a haze in the distant valleys that shines almost like silver. And that is your direction.
I think we should head east. What do you think, guys?
I'm making good time. Excellent
This
progress.
place looks magical.
You are.
Do we hear anything? Are there any strange sounds? Brun will stop to scan the the distance and see if he can hear anything unusual.
That is a fine question. Let's see.
I'm nervous, guys. I like to run away.
What is Brun's intelligence?
Brun has an intelligence of 10. He's quite the intellectual.
Yes. Brun hears the buzzing of insects, perhaps the distant chirping of birds, the wind rustling in the and the breeze is very nice because the sun is beating down, as I said. Rustling in the tall grass. That there are fewer tufts of grass and crumbled away parts in this path, by the way, than the path you just left. But you don't hear anything dangerous.
Coast is clear, guys.
Move on. While we're going down this path, I would like to keep an eye out for some nice round stones.
Sure, yeah, you can pick up pieces of the path itself. None of them have been washed by water enough over the years since this was a travel way of the ancients to make them nice and round. But then that means that they've got nice sharp corners to really teach a lesson to whoever.
This
All
road
right.
goes both to the east and to the west, but we're going east.
It does.
Right.
It
Okay.
does. The entire width of it seems to go in both directions. Occasionally, as you're walking along, you can see just where there's specifically no grass. Occasionally, you can see bits of metal fiber. They're rusted and very, very, very short, sticking up out of the ancient path. They remind you of the metal fibers that are in your crossbow strings. Sometimes they're surrounded by a cracked, blackened, almost creosote or tar-like substance that you've seen on a few surfaces back at Outpost 76.
Is the tar melted in the heat?
Just with the age and wear, it seems to have gone gummy in places.
I'm just going to keep walking and keep scanning the horizon for anything bigger than a bird.
Alrighty. So you kind of hum walking songs and so on and etc. And as you are as you're going along, just a moment. As you kind of come over a bit of a hump in the land, maybe, oh yeah, that's a good distance. Perhaps 100 meters up the path, something disturbs grass and leaves and so on, and bursts out of the undergrowth. And it takes to wing and begins to slowly flap towards you. And you recognize this is a blash. It is a giant moth-like creature that's 1 meter long with a wingspread of 2 meters. And it is glowing green. You know this thing is dangerous.
It's radioactive, guys. We should run away.
And there is just one of them. Thank the Tekanish.
If we
Dang
look
it, I
over
guess
the
we
edge
should,
of the
like,
road, like how far
can't
does it
really-
drop?
can't really reason with it. I think we should shoot it with crossbows immediately before it gets close to us because it's radioactive.
So it is, like I said, it's about 100 meters away, and it's flapping. And let's see.
Is it spotted us?
It doesn't seem to have. It seems like it's just kind of riding maybe warm currents of air. You've seen birds do such things as that sort of.
The range on these crossbows is 120. So
120 meters, yeah. We
Yes.
can try to avoid it, maybe go around it, or we could try to take it out since there's only one. I think it's bad news if it gets near us, though.
What
I'm
do we
straight
know
human,
about
it
it?
would probably mutate me.
They can.
Do we know they see well? Do they see poorly? Right? I mean, do we know any? We've encountered these, but at a distance, or
They're mostly nocturnal. I mean, you've learned about them through lessons, basically, like, you know, a dead one being shown to you, like, this is dangerous and this is why. They have the glow that they can emit that can mutate or kill. And when it kills, they land and feed upon their prey. They are fearless, and they are almost always hungry.
well, there's no cover, so
There is a shoulder that kind of slopes away on either side of the road, and there is tall grass, so you might be able to find some cover if you wish to hide from it rather than engage it in combat.
so the sun rises in the east, or does not? It does.
It does, yes, all the time.
Okay. I'm going to
Every day, I think.
I'm going to make sure that my sign / shield is not reflecting the sun back at it.
Okay.
But, you know, putting my arm down as I look for something to hide behind or to conceal myself with. I'm only about 3.5 foot, if that. So that's.
I understand. So,
Yeah, I think,
so your
we should all
shield,
seek cover.
your shield, regardless of size, is a tower shield for you.
Yes.
You can
Doing
just
the
curl up in
triangle
a
one.
ball and lay it flat on you and hope it flies past and thinks you're just a knockdown road sign and keeps going.
Yeah, that's Bubbles' idea. He's going to try to run over to the side of the road, like down in the ditch, and cover himself with his shield.
Okay. I shouldn't have given you guys that idea.
I think we're all going for cover at this point.
Yep.
All right. You're all going for cover. So let's see.
Said it's nocturnal. Maybe it's eyesight's not that good during the day.
To quote Z Frank, like the Blash do. All right. So let's see. If you don't know Z Frank, look him up on YouTube, by the way, guys. Don't click away from here. I didn't say do that. Very funny guy. So the Blash, let's see, starts to fly in your general direction, but it's up pretty high. It's maybe 10 meters up. And what you do know about it is it's got to get kind of close, within like 5 meters, before it can hit you with the poison of the glow. So it's flapping, and it does not stop.
Yes.
I'll
It
wait
can-
till it's a small speck and then get up.
All right. So let's see. It wheels and turns and actually goes back in the direction that you have come from. It's flying up the pass, which doesn't fill you with too much dread because you know there's enough firepower at Outpost 76 that they can absolutely take this thing down.
So should we take a look at where it burst out of the ground from? Its lair, maybe? On the way by, of course.
It's in the general direction we're going.
It is.
As long as it's not
What could go-
glowing.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Yeah, as long as it's not glowing over there.
Yeah, Bubbles will get up and he'll come back with the group, and He'll stay on the other side of the group, like opposite where it came out of.
Okay, so as you move down the slope of the road and approach where this thing was, there's some of the disgusting pale dust that came away from its wings. You know how moths are; they leave that dust. You see that it was resting in a large depression in the ground. In that depression, you see something that resembles Steve's mobile altar, but it has a covering over it of brown metal that looks like it has decayed in the middle. And looking down through that, because the sun's overhead, the depression is maybe 2 meters deep. And it's scattered with leaves and such, probably that the blash was able to disguise itself with. All the way in the bottom, you can see reflecting from the sun the gleaming, picked over bones of skeletons sitting inside the whatever this is, the great metal box. That's
how big is this mobile altar? How big is it?
It's
Can we carry it easily?
no, it's 4 meters long and 2 meters wide. There are some objects down there with the skeletons, though.
Let's investigate. Let's see if there's some stuff here. Also, let's see if we can figure out what this mobile altar, if we could use it to maybe give us information about good water. We can pray to these ancient gods in their tombs.
Okay, so the thing is completely immobile. It must weigh many tons. Unlike the altar of the Tekanish, it does not appear to have wheels on it. If this moved, if this wasn't just some structure here that sat here and then collapsed over the decades and centuries, it moved through some power that did not involve wheels, or perhaps scavengers removed the wheels. You're not sure. There is one skeleton inside. It has the rotted remains of something that looks to have been some sort of all blue clothing all over it. There is it appears to be a shield, but it is a small shield. It is a tiny shield of corroded brass affixed to the breast of its tunic. And in its lap is a strange device that appears to be a cylinder that has a spade grip at a right angle to it, and some kind of small lever behind a ring at the top of that spade grip.
Brun will pick it up and see if he can understand what it is.
The spade grip seems to fit your hand. You're not sure how it's supposed to be held or manipulated. On one end of the longer part, there is a tarnished but still obviously silver section that has knurling on it, like basically little lines in it, so you could grab it and grip it. You're not sure for what purpose. The other end is hollow. Do you wish to try and activate it?
I do.
Okay.
I'll stand behind Yesmar.
Yeah. I'm going to lay down.
Come on, guys. It's going to be fun.
With these before.
We've been waiting our whole life to figure this stuff out, and here we are.
Bubbles
Okay.
is like just
And I
poking his
say-
eyes above the shield.
What could go wrong?
It depends on what chart it is.
Oh, the famous charts.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
best things in the game.
you're turning it over in your hands, and you're not, you're like, okay, well, maybe you actually hold it by the long part, and this, no, that's not working, and just take another go at it, and you're like, okay, I definitely need to hold it like this, and it somehow works. I hook a finger through that. So you got that down pat. Corian says, it's clearly a communication device. Hold it up to your head. Hang on a second. I need to take this. Bam. Okay. It comes to you that if you pull on the small lever that your finger's in, something's got to happen. But it just, it doesn't, it goes back. There's no sound or sensation or anything. It only moves perhaps a millimeter or two. And then you realize that right behind that on the handle is some kind of stud. You push that.
Depress the stud.
You depress the stud. There's an audible click, and your finger, which was already tightened on the little lever that your finger is resting on, causes it to click all the way back. And because there was no fatal roll, none of you get shot. There's a loud crack, and
Audible sigh of relief.
a few meters in front of you, some of the path, a little spot perhaps that big, bursts and burns and bubbles with heat.
Nice. We can use this on the Blash if it comes back.
So clearly you have some kind of weapon of the ancients, and you have determined how to use it. And because you successfully determined how to use it, with a little bit of trial and error, you're able to determine that the intensity of whatever energy it is that comes out of this thing is determined by moving the rear of the cylinder. It turns like a wheel to the left
So it's
and to the right.
gradiated. Okay.
Yes.
What
So-
are can I read the symbols that indicate those gradations? Is there like a range that I can understand?
Yes, you can. You kind of rub off some grime, and it is rated from 1 to 5.
To green, to yellow, to red skull.
So
The blue thing, the blue small blue shield.
well, the shield is corroded bronze or brass or something.
Somebody should take that too.
Now, the thing also, the skeleton has also got some kind of harness around the waist, and there are many small cylinders
Oh,
through loops of leather in the harness. And on the harness is what appears to be a pocket or some kind of clasp or mechanism that will hold a shape. It like you could slide your hand in there. You could wear that and just conveniently slide your hand into it.
does it look like the weapon I'm holding would fit into it?
Or the weapon you're holding.
They match.
It must be a harness for the weapon. I'll take the harness.
Okay.
Will the small cylinders? Does it look like they will fit into the weapon?
You did successfully figure it out, so yes.
Sweet.
Yes. There is
You have backup energy cells.
and there
or
are
something.
a total of 9 of those cells. And as you're getting all this out, the skull of the thing rolls over, and you see that the side of it, there's a neat hole with burn marks around it in the side of it, and it exits out the other side.
Foul play in the ancient times.
Very possibly.
He was using it as a communication device.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, wrong number.
Stupid
Bubbles-
telemarketers.
I'm tired of
just kill
talking
myself.
now. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we shouldn't
Bubbles will
dilly-dally
try to
here
get us-
before that thing comes back.
Yes.
Good thinking. Let's get out of here.
Bubbles is going to grab that metal thing. Real
Yes,
quick.
good. Yes, excellent. All right, let's hightail it out of here. We don't want that blast to come back. Although,
Okay.
if it did, I would shoot it.
Yes. And as you're carrying, do you realize you want the thing to focus or to function to the best of its ability, and cleaning off the gunk from it.
I'll polish it.
Taking a rag, it's like any weapon. I mean, Steve would give you grease or some kind of refined animal oil to clean weapons with when you were youngsters and needed to be disciplined. You have gotten in Mrs. Johnson's tomato garden for the last time. You will polish swords for the rest of the evening. So yeah, you're familiar with, hey, keep your weapons in good working order. So in polishing it off, you see engraved in spidery letters just in front of the trigger mechanism. Perhaps it's the name of the fellow who fell, and if it was, his name was Smith and Wesson.
Smith and Wesson.
Yes. So the communication ray of Smith and Wesson is now yours.
Fantastic.
All right.
All right.
So if you wish to determine like the maximum range and the maximum effective range, you can do so with by expending a few shots from it. You've expended one. You're not sure how many charges are on the cylinder that's in it.
I wonder if I could just figure some of that out when I'm actually using it in combat, as opposed to wasting ammunition to figure it out up front. I think if anything gets close, I figure anything that gets nearby, I could probably waste it. So,
okay,
I'm just going to do that.
Exiting the mobile.
There's nothing else. Nothing else.
Head
Real
east.
quick, as we're heading out, nothing else catches our eye amidst all the skeletal remains.
Looking over
No.
my shoulder from
Okay.
time to time for
No.
flying beasties.
Flying
yeah.
beasts.
There's a few radioactive moths and where to find them. That was a canceled J.K. Rowling novel. And consider this, valued viewers, wouldn't Harry Potter have been more fun if it had been written by J.K. Simmons instead of J.K. Rowling? That was funny in my head anyway. You're a wizard, Harry. All right, so you soldier on through the day. More signs of ancient civilization. At one point on the side of the road, there is a huge, it must be, and it's mostly been cleared out of the way and largely been scavenged, but you can see there are the remains of some kind of structure of the ancients. It's made of tubular metal that's mostly bent and rusted, and affixed to it in places are the bent, twisted remains of a green piece of metal that must be 4 meters wide and 3 meters tall. And there are faded words on it.
Can we make any of the words out? The letters?
Yes, there are letters and numbers. They're cryptic. They're meaningless. You don't know what they entail, but you're able to decipher 65 east to Atlanta. You have no idea what that means. You recognize east. You don't know what an Atlanta is, or
It's a sign from the ancient gods we're heading in the right direction, east.
and again, the paint on this does have that same sparkly reflectiveness to it.
More signs.
So you're continuing on, and occasionally you do pass paths that seem to turn away from the large path that you are on. Some to the left and some to the right.
It's down the biggest one that goes east, I think.
Same ancient material, these
Yes.
alternate paths.
Yes. You are seeing there are green fields and forests, well, not forests, but tree stands here and again on either side. One of the at one of the points you pass something that there's a bridge. It looks sturdy enough, and if the folk of Goodwater and further east have come this way, you know it must be in good condition. Indeed, it looks like large sheets of metal have been laid to cover holes in the road, because the road becomes a bridge. It's not a separate wooden structure like other bridges you've seen. It's just the road just continues out over the water and keeps going. And there is a large pond beneath the road. Off to your right, you see something that just, well, let's see, because it's in the distance a ways. Nope. Yes, okay. Yes, Mar, your character catches the light glinting in the distance as if from polished metal or glass. It's not moving. It appears to be a few kilometers off of the road, off to the right, out across an open field.
Like, hey guys, look at that light over there. Can they see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And as you concentrate on it, it appears to be a large square structure peeking just above the trees in the distance. Like I said, it's a few kilometers off in that direction. Very hard to see.
I know we're supposed to be going east to Goodwater, but that looks like an unspoiled tomb of the ancients. What are the odds?
I always wanted to see the ancients' strongholds from the past.
I know. Imagine all the amazing treasures we could get in there.
But
it's just a small detour. A small detour.
Maybe it's good shelter for the night.
Exactly. Good thinking.
It is getting on in the day. It is, you know,
and what's a few clicks?
Yeah. Hiding from the blash, the long walk out of the mountains, rummaging through the ruins of the ancient tomb of the Blue Man. All that has taken some time. So you travel across the open road. You're starting to become a bit fatigued now. You think maybe, you know, when you reach the place, perhaps some water or food might be. And three things strike you as interesting about this place. There's it seems to be mostly the outside of it, the outside that faces you as you approach it, are skeletal grid. You can see the jagged remains of glass sitting in as frames. Now, Outpost 76, the open prayer temple in the front of Outpost 76, had these extremely rare clear glass panels arranged in a cube so that the faithful could come in and pray with Steve, and all could see. None are immune from the observation of the gods, is the lesson there. This appears that it might have had those, but they've all been broken except for a few, which must have been what caught the light. The other thing of note is there are a couple of Steve's mobile altars, or things that look very similar to them, sitting dilapidated and broken down and immobile in the square of weed overgrown stone that surrounds this place. And the final thing is a huge stone plinth overgrown with plants that has a strange pointed cylinder of stone mounted at an angle pointing up like that. And there are words in high relief in the stone underneath it.
What do the words say?
The words say you don't recognize the words. You've never seen the, well, I mean, the letters put like this mean nothing to you, except maybe the last syllable. It says G-net-ix. And then there's something smaller underneath that is almost completely faded away, that looks like it was put on with some kind of dye or coloration. And you can see a letter X, a dash, and 70. But you're
I think
not
only
sure
good
what
things
it is.
will come of us exploring this place.
With all those broken shards on the ground, we can at least access it easily.
Yeah, I want to see if these mobile terminals, you say they're dilapidated. Is there anything that we can salvage? Maybe parts for the mobile terminal that Steve has? Maybe he would like some spare parts if it's not too big or heavy.
Perhaps they have opening panels on the side that are currently closed. So you're not 100% sure what those panels, how those panels might open.
We should check out all three before we do the other thing.
All right, just search. We want to search them.
Yeah,
Okay.
we want to search the whole area.
Open everything we can open if we can open it.
Okay, of the two that are sitting there, the first, the panel, the one that Steve normally opened and stepped out of, will not yield. You've seen before the elders in the village, when they would open it for Steve, they would lift up on a metallic lever. This does not have that. It is completely smooth and flush. There is no obvious indication of how it might open. The other one does have a lever. Maybe it has leather seats, but
Maybe the lighter works.
So
One's got a lever. Can we operate it?
Pull, push, crank, hit it with my club.
Yeah,
Hit it with the club.
on pulling it, there is a creaking and a crackling sound, and it does open and swing outward. And even though your characters wouldn't know this, the smell is kind of a combination of peanut butter and burnt hairspray with a little bit of melted plastic mixed in. So yeah, it's not a pleasant odor at all when you open the thing, but overall it's in fairly good condition, other than everything, a lot of the interior of it seeming to be very dry and desiccated. Now, you've Steve's mobile altar, Steve of the Techinish, had one round yoke of some kind that he never touched, he never moved, and just empty holes throughout a shelf or a wall. Some were square, some were round. A few had thin ropes of metal hanging out of them. This looks kind of similar, but there are no holes. There are there is a square perhaps this big that seems to be just a black piece of glass. Underneath that are 3 circular glass faces of some kind that have gradations across them. Right behind the wheel, which, by the way, this one, it doesn't have a wheel. It has what appears to be just a straight yoke with two vertical parts that actually kind of resemble the grip of the weapon that you found. But there are studs and things that resemble small valuable gems. It boggles your minds as you're looking at it. And as I said, it's in fairly good condition in the overall.
The power of the agents was great indeed.
Indeed.
How large is this? 3 meters? 4 meters?
It's about 4 meters. It looks like, if you were also bold, that each of you could comfortably sit yourselves in a place within it.
Should start pushing dials and buttons.
Everybody get in it.
Okay. And that was how I killed them all. Okay. So who is sitting in the seat where the yoke is, and what are you doing?
Bubbles will get in there, and first he'll try moving the yoke, and if that doesn't work, he's going to try flipping any switches, especially if anything is like shiny or maybe lights up or something.
Okay.
Preferably at random.
Does it say push me?
Okay. So the yoke, however you try to turn it, holding it in the center or whatever, it moves a few centimeters in each direction, but not, doesn't, doesn't yield. So you proceed to start flipping switches. I swear to God, if this just red lines all the way through, I'm going to laugh. It's going to be hilarious. All right.
Well, at least it's a Ford or dragster.
Because with the blaster pistol, like with one exception, it was just straight across to finish. It's like, well, damn, aren't you clever?
Yeah,
so we'll see.
B or C.
We'll see about this. This by the way is chart B.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Only mostly deadly.
Yeah, there's only 3 skull and crossbones on chart B.
Hit that button.
Yeah.
Just imagine the mayhem if we can figure this sucker out.
I'm just hoping the battery's dead. That's all I'm hoping.
Grand Theft Auto.
That'd be great, guys. We'll make it there.
Drive straight through the building.
All right. So let's see. Bubbles. I tell you what, let's make this more fun. Bubbles, roll a d10. Yang.
All right.
I'll let you do it instead of you guys sitting here watching me roll.
2.
Check to make sure he has mods, right? Because you might have mods in your sheet.
That's true.
Are you a humanoid with like cool mutations that affect these kinds of rules?
No.
Well, your intelligence matters, though.
It does.
Yeah, my intelligence is 8, which is 0 to operate artifact.
Okay. All right. So you rolled a 2?
Yep.
Okay. All right, you flip a couple of switches, and somewhere deep in this thing, you hear this boom, boom.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Can we tell where that noise is coming from?
Somewhere in the front.
Oh, damn it.
Nice.
There is also accompanying it this very pleasant bong, bong, bong.
Everybody put your seatbelts on.
And a red light is slowly fading in and out on one of the panels in front of you. You've never seen such a thing. This is astounding. And you're not sure what it represents. It's this kind of it's a rectangle standing on one end, and it's got a line that goes through it. You're not even sure what that means. All right.
Me, I can't have my shield in the car.
No shields in
Perhaps
car.
we need to cut the vehicle. There's a slash through this thing.
That's the safer choice.
Okay, so what do you want to do next?
Can I Bubbles will try to move the yoke again and see if it's any different now.
The yoke now, you move the yoke and it doesn't yield much more than before.
Mm-hmm.
But it does something very strange. It vibrates slightly, and you hear this sort of weird sound when you move it one way.
So he's going to put his ear to the yoke as he turns it again, and he will say, "Hello. Am I speaking to the ancients?"
Okay. The car does not respond. Oh, I spoiled it. Now you guys know it's a car. Well, we might as well just not play anymore. The yoke does not respond. You move it the other way, and when you kind of hit the max detent on it, once again, it feels like it's pushing against you. And then there's from in front of the car, just as there was before, you hear the sound.
All right. Are there any more?
What are those?
So I do recognize which thing I flipped that made the initial whirring sound, right?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay. Are there any other levers I could?
Oh, good Lord,
press
yes. There's buttons, there's levers, there's switches, there's knobs, there's any number of things you can do.
I'm going to try for some levers. The bigger, the better.
Roll the D10.
All right, let's be good, guys. 10.
Damn.
A 10. Okay. You move a big lever. The vehicle doesn't move forward or backwards or anything, but all of you are jolted. It kind of lurches, but it stays in place. And the faint hum from the front of the vehicle lowers in pitch, but grows in volume.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to anger you. I'm very sorry.
I'm like, do it again.
I'm going to hide under my shield in the back seat here.
Okay.
Bubbles is going to look for another lever.
Roll
a different lever.
Let's see. Yep, roll another D10.
9.
Okay. There's a big it has places where even for your orangutan fingers, there's a big enticing looking red lever just to the right of the yoke that's turned maybe at an angle like that. You reach out and put your hand on it and turn it, and the entire object that you're in lurches backwards about 3 meters.
Progress.
Is it still moving or just 3 meters and then stops?
It's slowly rolling backwards. Roll another D10.
Okay. 8.
I'm bailing out.
Yeah, is it backing into the glass thing, or is it going into the street?
No, it has
This is
slowed.
freaking me out.
it has load. So you're jumping out. It's going slow enough that that's not going to affect you. So when you do that, looking for another lever, as you push, you're like, oh, there's a lever on the back of the yoke. You realize, oh, there's a lever here. And as you push it up, you also push the yoke. There's now a clicking sound. Click, click, click. There is a green light that is coming on and turning off and coming on and turning off and coming on and turning off on the right-hand side of the yoke.
It's the holy indicator, guys.
You did push the yoke as you reached it. So the vehicle is now slowly moving backwards in a wide circle.
Okay. Well, Bubbles clearly knows that the car wants it to turn right. Does he realize at this point he can intentionally make it turn by moving the yoke?
Roll a d20 and tell me what you got.
18.
You have no idea whatsoever. Cause and effect are out the door right now. You are literally an orangutan trying to drive a 200-year-old vehicle of the ancients.
Okay, so
but nothing bad is happening right now. It's just,
this is good.
Well, we're going backwards in a big circle at idle speeds.
Maybe we can go. Maybe we can reverse it and go forwards.
I'm going to look out the back window and yell if there's something coming.
Okay,
good idea.
So that lever the big red one that I pulled that made us go backwards, can I push it in another direction to another thing and see what happens?
Give me a d10 roll.
It's going to be good, guys. 5.
It won't budge. You try and push it back, and it won't move.
Okay, now Bubbles is getting a little concerned.
Okay.
So I think he will start flailing around, pressing at whatever levers he can find again.
Awesome. Roll a d10.
This is how to do it. Yeah.
All the noise we're making, I'm looking around, making sure
7.
we're not drawing too much attention.
7. Okay. Everyone you're terrified because this hissing, roaring sound is coming out of every direction in the car. The sound is perfect, but it's just this whooshing, roaring noise, like
a TV turned to a dead channel kind of noise.
You don't know what a TV is, you don't know what a channel is, but perhaps
is it dead?
You can barely hear each other. Roll another d10 because you said you were just flipping levers.
And as he rolls this, Bubbles is going to start screaming, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. 5.
A 5. Okay. Nothing changes. You're being slowly deafened by the level of that sound, and the thing is just slowly rolling, and you are of course outside the car, just looking on in mute horror, I guess.
Well, Bubbles is he's gonna have to try something else.
You said you're keeping on flailing, so roll another d10.
10.
Nothing changes. Your predicament has gotten neither better nor worse.
Brun will look and see if any of the controls are blinking or flashing or calling out attention.
3 of them are red. There's the one that was boom, boom. That's still going, but you can't hear it now. There's the green one that's flashing, and then there's a couple that are just you don't know, but they're red. They're not controls, they're just indicators.
I think you're just angering the ancients.
I'm sorry, ancients. I'm sorry. He will Okay. He in his mind, he's going to try to do this systematically.
Okay.
So are there any other levers next to that first one that made it very angry?
The first one that made it very angry. Bubbles
that made it
mindset
roar.
That's making the loud whooshing sound now.
No, the first one that we
the
sort of
very
lurch
initial.
forward and yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what it does, but yeah, there's a couple of toggle switches.
He's going to try that one because he thought, okay, if the first one is angry, maybe the other one is happy.
Roll a d10.
10.
A pale liquid. Apparently, you've made it sad. It's crying. A pale liquid jets up over the glass in front, and immediately the algae and fungus and whatever in two spots you can now clearly see in front of you is washed away. Its tears have removed the dirt. You made it cry.
Praise the ancients.
Tears of joy.
Bless your tears.
You're just making matters worse.
All right, he's got to try again. He's got to find. Yeah, he's going to keep trying. He wants to find some way to make it stop.
Okay, roll another d10.
10.
Nothing changes except as you're looking around, you note that the seat you're in starts getting warm. Not hot, not like danger hot, but it's like warm, like in the winter when you wear a good sweater.
Useful.
You're an
winter,
orangutan
guys.
covered with hair, so when you wear mittens.
What's the general weather conditions here?
It's summer, so it's
Bubble,
going to get uncomfortable, but in the moment. You're a baboon, your butt's bare anyway, so.
Bubbles will yell to the others, I don't know what to do.
Well, clearly we're moving backwards in a circle, so we must do something.
So, I don't know. I guess he'll try again. Try something else. Wait. Now Bubbles is going to pull out the club because he remembered Steve said that the club would help ancient machines that don't work right. So he's going to start tapping it with the club.
Good thinking.
Tapping or striking?
Well, he's going to start with tapping.
He's going to start with tapping. Okay. Roll a d10.
3.
Okay. The nothing changes in the direction. Your seat stays warm, but the roaring sound coming at you from every side stops.
Progress.
Thank you.
You gently
praise the ancients.
You tap something, you hear a click, and the roaring sound just fades away.
Clearly that's a good sign. So he's going to tap somewhere that's not the thing that he just tapped.
Roll a d10.
9.
A panel. Who's sitting in the front seat with him? Because there were 4 spots.
Thinking it must be me because I was like trying to look at the controls. So it's probably
I jumped out.
Right.
A panel seat behind him. Yeah.
A panel directly in front of you flops open.
Is there anything in there?
Yes, there are crumbled, very dry and desiccated, but still somewhat intact, folded up pieces of paper.
Scrolls of the ancients. I bet Steve would like to have these.
And in fact, as you're looking at them, because it falls out, it must be a sign from the gods, because emblazoned on the front is the red-orange circle and the blue numbers 76.
It is fun.
Bum.
But what does it mean?
What does it mean? Okay. What's going on over in the driver's seat?
Well, positive things seem to be happening by tapping stuff. So he's going to try to tap something else again.
This is hilarious.
And if that
by the
doesn't
way.
work, he's going to try to tap harder.
I was afraid there would be a TPK with the Blash, but you guys are this is so much more fun. Okay.
It'd probably be dangerous.
I'm sensing a Jim Holloway illustration here.
Yeah, absolutely. Not this role-playing game, though. The other one.
I don't know. This is kind of a Tom Wham sort of thing. All right, give me a D10 roll. Your tap.
9.
Nothing changes in your predicament.
Well, then clearly the thing to do is to start tapping things harder. A lot harder.
Like rearing back, I'm gonna put this through the panel in front of me hard.
Well, I'd say he's gonna aim for some levers. So whatever he's got the most room to maneuver to hit something. I mean, I don't know if this is like a Festiva size or more like a Cadillac, but however much room he's got.
More like a Cadillac.
Okay. Oh, well, then he's got plenty of room. So he'll just start swinging at things.
Okay. The orangutan goes ape. Are you doing that high-pitched monkey scream while you're doing it? Exactly. Literally chimping out. All right. Roll a D10 again.
3.
All right. I'm gonna subtract 1. Roll another D10.
8.
Roll a D10 one more time.
This will be good. Another 8.
Okay. So the ape begins to chimp out, or the orangutan begins to chimp out. Let's see. You strike something. The car stops gently, driving in a circle.
Ooh.
Snaps forward, flies out, not flies, but
takes off,
goes about 20 meters down an embankment, slams nose first into the ground. Everyone takes 4 points of damage as you are slammed forward, but as it hits, you hear just a loud pop, and something very briefly stops you from eating the place in front of you.
Oh.
I go running over and down the hill trying to make sure, is everybody okay? Is everybody okay? I told you're only making things worse.
Well, I guess this is a bad idea then.
So yeah, Bubbles is bleeding, and he sort of falls out of the car, and he just laying on the ground. He slowly takes some of the bandages to try and stop the bleeding.
Bind wounds.
Yes. What are the rest of you doing?
I'm getting out of the car,
assisting with the bandage.
Okay.
Yeah, let's actually get away from the car just in case.
There's kind of an when you climb out, I mean, the bonging sound continues, but any sounds out of the rest of it, it's not making any noises.
All right. Well, there's still one more of those to check out. So maybe
All
there's
right.
something in.
What a great idea.
The sun.
Maybe we could find more scrolls in that compartment.
We couldn't figure out how to get the doors open.
That was the first one.
They shaved
That's
off
right.
the handles.
That's right.
Okay.
From the ground, Bubbles will offer some advice. The clubs, they do work.
It stopped for sure.
Okay. So, let us leave it there then for this first session
Okay.
of first edition Gamma World, as our adventurers have found 2 devices of the ancient, one of which worked to their advantage, one of which did not work to their advantage.
At least we're not dead.
You aren't dead. You aren't dead. You did
Episode
all
1.
you did all take 4 points of damage, and
Not me.
no, 3 of you took 4 points of damage. Although if it had been a more catastrophic roll, it might have backed over you first. All right. Yes. What does the audience think? Should I give them XP for slaying an automobile? Anyway, so you killed the car, man. All right, guys. We will resume playing. I almost said Fallout 4. We will resume playing Emerald next week at the same time, 9:30 Eastern Standard. I guess you guys will come back then, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Had a
Hey,
good time.
your characters didn't shoot yourselves in the head, and you didn't die in an automobile crash. So, as far as I'm concerned,
Not
you're
for
winning.
lack of trying.
Win-win.
Hashtag winning.
Right.
Anyway,
Better than I expected.
thank you to our audience. Thank you to our players. Thank you to everybody who stuck around for this madness tonight. Oh no, that I'm sorry. That's that. Barunga, I'm putting that. This is because this is brilliant. That's not mine. That's his. Monkey see, monkey doesn't do. So I will be back Monday with another show where I'll ramble on about things that I think are important. And then Tuesday we've got AD&D, and Wednesday we've got more BSing, and Thursday more BSing, and then Friday we'll come back to this. So you guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend. It was tons of fun, and we'll see you all on the next live stream. Peace out, everyone.
Good night, all.
Thanks a lot.